In macro photography, we're always looking for new subjects, and sometimes we don't need an iconic subject, we just need something iconically small. I'm Ben from Adaptalux, and this is how to photograph the eye of a needle. This is my sewing kit. Pretty self-explanatory. We've got a little pack of needles in there which we'll be getting out. We'll be trying a few different sizes and capturing some interesting images of the metal surface super close up. What's going to enable us to do that today is this. It's the super micro set of lenses from Lauer, the Lauer Oregon super micro IPO. And as you can see in here, we have a set of lenses. We have 10 times, 20, 35 times, and 50 times magnification. The way that this works is by using this piece here. This is the actual lens, and we attach it to one of these pieces. So we're going to be using the 10 times lens today, and I'm going to unscrew this and put it together. It's a little bit complicated, but it's absolutely necessary for getting this kind of magnification with your camera. So as you can see, we attach the main part to one of these essentially very fancy extension tubes. Here we have our aperture control on the main piece just here, and then essentially we just extend the focal length to get the magnification that we want. In this case, it's a 10 times. This is then going to attach to my camera, and we have ourselves a 10 times macro lens. Of course, by swapping this piece out for 20 times, 35 times, or 50 times, you can get a lot more magnification. Today we're sticking to 10 times because I think that will be enough to see the eye of the needle. So now that I have my 10 times magnification lens attached to my Sony A7 III body, I can start to think about how to mount this thing. It's pretty unwieldy, it's a very long lens, it's also quite heavy and very front heavy. So if I were to attach it using my camera here, it's going to want to start to fall forwards, and that's not very conducive with a stable setup, which is absolutely essential for high magnifications like this. I also want to be able to focus stack. Usually I would do that manually, but today I'm going to automate it using the Miops Slider Plus. This is an automated slider. It's relatively simple looking, but it has a lot of very powerful features, including really fine increment focus stacking, programmable via an app. You can see that I've already attached the slip ring for the lens here, and I'm simply going to slide the lens into this and mount it centrally so that the center of gravity of my entire camera and lens is over the center of the slider. So now that we have a nice stable setup for our camera, I'm going to start to think about composition. I'm going to be placing my needle in a macro subject holder. This is a really flexible bit of kit with some crocodile clips, and I've already placed a needle in one of those crocodile clips to bring it down right in front of the lens. Now this is going to be essential because there's going to be some really fine adjustments of where this needle needs to be in front of the lens. And as I already mentioned, we have limited focusing capability with our setup here. We can't focus using the lens, so it's going to be moving the camera forwards and back. However, we also don't have any height or angle adjustment with this setup here, so I'm going to be controlling the height and the angle using the subject itself. I'll be moving the subject around rather than moving the camera around, which with macro is often the easiest way. So now with my needle placed down in front of the lens, it's time to take a look at exactly how close we can get. So I've found a good composition for my needle, just placing it in front of the lens and taking a look around. Well, I say just placing it. It took a couple of minutes to even find where the needle should be. Too far back and it's just so out of focus that you can't see that it exists. Even a few millimeters north or south and it's not in the frame at all. So very fine adjustments required to find a good composition here. But now that we have it, we can actually see that the next challenge is going to be lighting. I have a big window open at the end of my shooting space here, and the needle is essentially silhouetted because that bright light is overpowering the needle. If I were to expose for the needle itself, it would just disappear into that light. So I'm going to be closing up that window and adding some lighting to the needle itself to bring out some of the detail on the surface and not just leave it as a silhouette. So when it comes to lighting, I'm going to be using the Adaptalux Studio. This is the Control Pod 3, and I'm going to be placing it down on a mini tripod right next to my setup, ready for 2 super bright white lighting arms. I'm going to be plugging these in, and as soon as we do, we'll get some light onto our needle. Now, these are extra bright lighting arms that are designed for tiny little subjects like this, so we can get a lot of light onto a relatively small area. Now, as you can see, that's already improved our exposure. We're going to adjust this a little bit further though, because everything's a little bit highlighty at the moment. We've got a few areas that are really dark and then a few areas that are far too bright. Now, you do also have to excuse the lack of focus at this point because, well, it's quite simply not possible to focus on the entire thing. The eye of the needle, although it is very, very small, is also very, very close. So if even a tiny movement occurs with our setup, as you can see, we're getting a lot of change in focus. I'm barely moving this by a couple of millimeters and everything is going crazy. So we'll take a look at our focus in a little while. First of all, there's another aspect to this that I want to add. So the way to combat these really harsh reflections and shadows is some diffusion. It's because we've got 2 direct lights pointing at this quite reflective, shiny metal subject that we're getting all of those highlights, and of course 2 direct lights are also going to cast really harsh shadows. So some diffusion material over this entire scene to diffuse both of these lights will be ideal. To do that, I'm going to use this single sheet of toilet roll. It's a really nice diffusion material. It's really pliable for placing over this scene. And as you can see, as I place that over the subject, our lighting is much more diffused. Now, the joy of doing it this way with these 2 independent lights is that I can still affect the lighting scenario in our scene by moving the 2 lights around independently. By placing these lights in different places on that diffusion material, I can change where those highlights and shadows fall on my subject. So I'm quite liking something like that. One light coming in from the side and one coming in mostly from above and slightly from the front. That gives us a lot of balance of our light around the head of the needle, so you can really see all of those curves and hopefully the texture of the metal as well. So now that we have everything set up with our lighting, the diffusion, the composition, and of course the lens and the slider, we can start to look at taking our focus stack. I've just connected to the Myops slider here, and I can now select different modes of operation for our slider. One of these modes is focus stacking, and it brings up a bunch of parameters that we can set for our slider. So the first thing that we need to do is set our A and B points. Now you can do this in various ways by moving the slider left and right. I'm going to speed this up a little bit by selecting 100 times. That means that it's going to move just over 100 microns each. I'm going to move this really precisely to our front position. So let's say just there. I'll set that as the A point. Then I need to set the B point. So again, 100 times, and I'm moving this in the opposite direction this time so that we can set our end points, the back of the image. So once again, I'm going to finely adjust this so that we can find the very back of the needle. I think about there will be fine. So now that we have our A and B points set, we can choose movement per frame. This is going to determine how long your stack takes, how many images it takes, and how successful it actually is. Because we're moving really tiny increments, we can end up with hundreds and hundreds of images. So if you go 1.4 microns per photo, you're going to end up with 314 frames. I don't think we need quite that many. Let's aim for about 100 frames in total, which is just at the bottom here. And that is 3.4 microns per frame. So I can press OK there. The exposure time is going to determine how long the slider will stay still for as it thinks you're taking a photo. So the slider is actually controlling the camera, and when it takes its photos, there's a little wire just here plugged in to the camera from the slider. So this is going to be set to 0.25, and then the interval is how long it's going to stay still for after it moves. This one is really important because as the slider moves, it's going to create a little bit of shake. You want to give it a couple of seconds to settle down after it's moved. You do want this to be relatively low because the longer you wait for, obviously, the longer the stack is going to take. If time is an issue, you can risk it and set this a little bit lower and maybe have a little bit of camera shake in your image, but I'm going to be absolutely fine with 2 seconds. Now, the last thing that we need to do is set the settings in the camera, and then we can press go. So let's take a look at the exposure settings for this shot. It's 1/400th of a second, hopefully to eliminate all of that camera shake. As you can see in here, just tapping the camera or even the table, it's creating a lot of camera shake. So 1/400th of a second should freeze any movement that the slider creates. ISO 1600 is my balance, so I've raised that up a little bit so that I can have that high shutter speed, but then also my aperture is set via the lens at the smallest possible setting. It's 0.15 NA. These lenses don't use standard aperture values of f-stops. Instead, they use numerical aperture, which is what the NA stands for. This one runs from 0.5 to 0.15, so there's a bit of a range there, and I want the smallest possible aperture on that range to get the deepest depth of field and the sharpest image. So as you can see now that stack is shooting, we have an elapsed time, a remaining time. We can see our intervals and our exposure all on that app. There's also a nice little diagram of the slider moving A to B because we can't actually see it in real life. It's near imperceptible, that amount of movement per shot. This is a really handy way to know that everything is going right. It also says that our total stacking time is going to be about 5 minutes, so it means you can walk away and come back later on when you know that the stack will have completed. And you might have to do this a couple of times to get the perfect focus stack. I'm going to speed this up for us because, well, with the power of editing, I just can. So I'll see you in just a sec and we can stack the image. Now you'll also notice that the camera is not making any sound, and that's because I've turned silent shooting on. I don't want the mechanical shutter going up and down and creating additional vibration, so silent shooting is going to use the mirrorless capabilities of the Sony a7 III and reduce as much vibration as possible. So with our stack completed, I have 104 images to open up in Helicon Focus, which is the stacking software that I'm using to put them all into a single shot. So 104 images into the software, and they're all automatically selected on the right here, provided you have everything in order, which it should be if you've taken them automated like I did. You can simply hit a rendering method and press render. This means that all of the images are going to be processed so that the software looks for the most in focus area on each image, and it will choose only that part to enter into the final image. You can see it rendering here on the right and creating a single shot that is perfectly in focus. We can get really, really close to this and see all of the microscopic detail down in the metalwork of the eye of the needle. Now this has come out really nicely. I don't think I'm going to have to do very much work to this at all, maybe taking out a couple of extra highlights and sharpening up the overall image, but that is a really nice stack of the head of this needle. So magnifications this high, 10 times through to 50 times, is not really macro photography anymore. It's micro photography. It's you're using essentially a microscope at this point, and Lauer understands that. That's why the aperture is measured in numerical aperture, and this is a set of microscope objectives. It is a really nice set of lenses that does allow you to get ridiculously close to some subjects. However, it does require a little bit more stability, some more thought into your lighting, and of course it is absolutely necessary to focus stack. Focus stacking with the automated slider is a lot easier and a lot less time consuming if you don't mind messing around with app interfaces. You can do this manually, but it does take a little bit longer waiting for your movements to settle down, because touching the setup is going to create a lot of camera shake, whereas the slider can do everything a lot more smoothly than a human can. So I do recommend looking into automated focus sliders if you're getting up to this type of super high magnification. I'd like to know from you guys what you thought to today's shoot. If you learned something, make sure to hit the like button and leave a comment down below. Hit subscribe for lots more macro photography tutorials, ideas, and inspiration coming in the future. But for now, that's all I've got time for. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.